Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Life ain't no straight path. You're going to hit some bumps, you're going to fall. And let me tell you, I've been there. I've been in a place where the struggle felt too real, too strong. But hear me now, you are not alone. And let me break it down for you. There was a time, I'll be honest with you, I had a habit. It was something that pulled me down, something that controlled me, something that held my spirit hostage. You ever been there? You know, that thing, that weight that's always on you? It could be anything from addiction to fear to doubt to anger. And I found myself at my lowest point thinking, God, please take it away. There was a time. Life, my friends, isn't a straight road. It's filled with bumps, twists, and turns that you never expect. There are moments when you find yourself on the ground, struggling, questioning, and wondering if you'll ever get out. I know, because I've been there. I've walked through those dark valleys where the weight of a habit feels like it's holding you down, keeping you from reaching your potential. And I want to talk to you today about that struggle. A struggle that's all too familiar. But more importantly, I want to talk to you about the breakthrough, the moment when things change. There was a time in my life when I had a habit. It was something that grabbed hold of me, something that controlled my thoughts, my actions, my every decision. Maybe it was a bad habit. Maybe it was something that I used to cope, to escape. It could be anything. A substance, a negative thought pattern, a behavior that wasn't serving me. But it wasn't just the habit that was the problem. It was the feeling of being trapped. The sense that I couldn't escape, no matter how hard I tried. My sense of responsibility and determination were gone. I felt like I was bound, like I had no control over my own life. And I'm sure some of you can relate. Maybe you're battling a habit of your own. Maybe you've tried everything. You've prayed, you've asked for help, but the struggle keeps coming back. You fall, you get up, and you fall again. It can feel hopeless at times. But let me tell you something. You are not alone. And this is not the end of your story. There's a point in every battle where you just have to admit it. You can't do it on your own. And that was my moment. I found myself on my knees, looking up, saying, God, take this from me. I need your help. I didn't know what the answer was, but I knew I couldn't keep living this way. I needed something bigger than myself to step in, to help me break free from the chains that held me down. And I believe in that moment, I wasn't just asking for help. I was surrendering the control I thought I had, surrendering the weight I thought I could carry on my own. But here's the thing about faith. You see, God will help you. He'll guide you. But faith isn't just about asking and waiting for everything to magically change. It's about action. It's about waking up every single day and making a choice to fight, a choice to move forward, a choice to keep believing that something greater than yourself is in control. You can't just sit back and wait for God to do it all. You have to step up, take responsibility, and be willing to make those changes. You see, faith is a two-way street. God will give you strength, but He's not going to walk the journey for you. You've got to make the decision every single day to choose the better path, to walk away from that habit, to refuse to let it control you any longer. And some days, it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt. You're going to feel like giving up. But that's where the power of perseverance comes in. Every day you make a switch. It's millimeters, not meters. On the progress you're making, you've got to keep going, even when it's tough. You've got to push through the pain and trust that God is with you, even when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is in their hearts, and they will come out on top. Let me tell you, it won't happen overnight. It's not a magic fix. But over time, if you stay faithful and keep fighting, you will start to see the change. The chains that once held you will begin to loosen. The habit that had you in its grip will lose its power. And you'll find yourself standing in a place where you've broken free, where you've come out on the other side stronger, wiser, and more grateful than ever before. The honor of that will go to the men and women you serve and to the nations you live in. The merit will remain forever. But you've got to believe that it's possible. You've got to trust that the process, though painful at times, is leading you to something better. I've been through it, and I can tell you from experience, when you make it through, when you look back and see the transformation, you'll realize that you didn't just survive, you thrived. You became the person you were always meant to be, the person you were always capable of being. So whatever habit you're facing right now, whatever struggle you're battling, understand that you can break free. You can overcome it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Keep fighting, keep believing, keep trusting. God will give you the strength you need, but you've got to take that first step. You've got to show up every day and make that decision, because if you do, you'll look back one day and realize that the habit you asked God to take away has been replaced by a new you, stronger, freer, and ready to conquer whatever comes your way. There comes a time in every person's life when you reach a point where you've had enough. You know what I'm talking about. That moment when the weight of your struggles feels unbearable. When the burden of the things you've been carrying weighs so heavily on your heart and soul that you can't see a way out. It might be a bad habit, something that has held you back for years. It could be fear, addiction, negativity, or something else that's been controlling your life. It's been there. I've been in that dark place where you feel like you're fighting a battle that you can't win. And it's not just the bad habits themselves. It's the feeling of being stuck. It's the sense that no matter how hard you try, you can't break free. You try everything. Willpower, self-control, reaching out for help, but nothing seems to work. You keep falling, you keep slipping, and you start to believe that maybe this is just who you are, that maybe this is your destiny. You're not strong enough to fight it. Then, without warning or prevention, there comes a period of time when you stop. But I'm here to tell you that's a lie. When I was in that place, I found myself on my knees, praying with everything I had. I was asking for help, asking for change, asking for the strength to break free. I prayed, God, take this away. I don't want this in my life anymore. I need you to take it from me. But here's the thing. When you ask for something, when you reach out in faith, you need to understand that it's not just about God doing it all for you. That's part of it, but the other part is about you. You have to meet God halfway. You've got to show up and do the work. It's easy to think that once we ask for help, the world will suddenly change, that all our problems will disappear. But the truth is, God gives us the strength to change, but He doesn't do the work for us. We have to take action. We have to wake up every day and make a conscious decision to fight. You can pray all you want, but if you're not willing to take the steps, to make the changes, and to keep moving forward, nothing is going to change. Faith without works is dead. Let me tell you, it's not going to be easy. Breaking a habit, changing a mindset, overcoming something that's been a part of your life for so long is never simple. There are days when you're going to feel like giving up. There are days when the temptation will feel stronger than your willpower. But that's when you've got to dig deep. That's when you've got to hold on to your faith, even when you can't see the way forward. That's when you've got to remind yourself that you're not in this alone. There were days when I felt like I was fighting a battle I couldn't win. But then I would take a step back and remember why I was fighting. I remembered that the life I wanted, the person I was striving to become, was worth the fight. The pain, the struggle, the setbacks, they were all part of the process. They weren't there to defeat me. They were there to teach me, to build me, and to make me stronger. And every time I felt like giving up, I reminded myself that God was with me, giving me the strength to push through. The truth is, change doesn't come overnight. It takes time, patience, and a whole lot of perseverance. But every day that you choose to fight, every day that you take another step forward, you're getting closer to the breakthrough you've been praying for. You're getting closer to the person you were always meant to be. And one day you'll look back and realize that the habit that once controlled you no longer has any power over you. You'll see how far you've come and realize that it was worth the fight. And here's the best part. When you come out on the other side, when you've broken free from the habit, you won't just be changed, you'll be transformed. You'll be stronger, wiser, and more equipped to handle whatever comes your way. You'll be a living testament to the power of faith, hard work, and perseverance. You'll be able to look at someone else who's struggling and say, I've been where you are, and I know it's hard, but I promise you, you can get through it. 5. Aviator, baptism by fire. So whatever habit you're battling right now, whatever struggle you're facing, don't give up. Don't let the enemy of your soul tell you that you can't change, that you can't break free. You can. You are stronger than you think. You've got the power inside of you. And with God's help, you can overcome anything. Just keep fighting, keep trusting, keep believing. The victory is waiting for you on the other side. You've got this. There's something about hitting rock bottom that changes a person. It's in those moments when you feel like you have nothing left to give, when the pain of your struggles feels unbearable, that you realize something has to change. I've been there. I know what it's like to look at yourself in the mirror and wonder how you ended up here. How did I get so far down? How did I let a habit, a pattern, a mindset take control of my life to the point where I didn't recognize myself anymore? It's a painful place to be, and for a long time, I didn't know how to get out. But let me tell you something. No matter how deep you're in, no matter how stuck you feel, you are never beyond redemption. You are never too far gone to turn things around. I remember praying, asking God for help, begging for the strength to overcome the addiction, the fear, the negative thinking that had been dragging me down. It wasn't just about a habit, it was about the inner battle I was fighting, a battle with my own self-doubt, with the lies I believed about myself and the belief that I couldn't change. I would pray and ask for God to take it all away. Take this from me, I would say. I can't do this anymore. I need you to take this from me. I need you to help me change. And that's when I realized something. Faith is not just about asking for change. It's about trusting that change is possible and doing your part to make it happen. I was waiting for God to take it all away without realizing that I had to take the first step, that I had to move my feet, make the effort, and be ready to do the work. That's the part we often miss. We think that if we pray hard enough, if we ask for help enough times, things will magically change. But faith requires action. Faith requires commitment. God will guide you. He will give you strength, but He's not going to do it for you. The change starts with you. It starts with a decision to get up every day, to push through even when it feels impossible. It starts with choosing a new path, a path that's different from the one you've been on. It starts with choosing a new path, a path that's different from the one you've been on. The road to breaking a habit, overcoming a struggle, it's not an easy one. It's full of obstacles, setbacks, and moments of doubt. But that's where your strength is built. That's where your character is formed. You see, the struggle is not in vain. The struggle is what makes you stronger. Every time you resist the temptation, every time you choose to make a better decision, you are building the person you're meant to become. And that process takes time. Let me tell you something. When you're in the middle of that struggle, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. You wonder if things will ever change. You question whether it's worth it, whether you're strong enough, whether you're capable. But that's where faith comes in. It's about trusting that the change will come, even when you can't see it. It's about knowing that with each step you take, even when it's small, you are moving closer to freedom. You can't expect change to happen overnight. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes hard work. But the most important thing is that you don't give up. You keep going, even when it gets tough. You keep fighting, even when the temptation to fall back into your old ways is strong. You keep trusting, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because I promise you, you are making progress. You are getting stronger. You are getting stronger. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. And when that breakthrough comes, when you look back and see how far you've come, when you realize that the thing you once thought had control over you no longer does, that's when you'll understand why the struggle was worth it. You'll understand that everything you went through, every moment of pain, every challenge, was shaping you, preparing you for the person you are today. And the change of your friends, from the beggar to the person you are today. No matter where you are in your journey, no matter how long you've been struggling, I need you to hear this. You are not alone. You are not beyond redemption. The strength to change is already within you. It might not be easy. It might take time, but you can break free. You can overcome. Keep praying, keep fighting, keep trusting, because you are closer than you think. The change you've been waiting for is just around the corner, and when you make it through, you'll be amazed at what you've become. A person who has conquered the very thing that once held them back. Keep going. You've got this. There are times in life when everything seems to be falling apart. Times when the weight of your decisions, your habits, your failures, and your fears feels unbearable. I've been in that place, a place where I felt like I was drowning, where I was struggling just to keep my head above water. And no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much I wanted to change, I kept falling back into the same patterns. It felt like I was trapped in a cycle, unable to break free, unable to move forward. I don't know if any of you have ever felt that way, but let me tell you, I've been there. And I want to tell you something. You don't have to stay there. There was a time in my life when I was battling a habit that had a hold on me, a habit that defined who I was for far too long. It didn't matter how much I tried to resist it or how much I prayed for help. It was like a part of me that I couldn't escape from, and the more I fought it, the stronger it seemed to get. It was like I was waging war against myself. I was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Sometimes I wished I was dead. I was so mad at myself. I was exhausted, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And in those moments of frustration and despair, I began to question if I was even worthy of change. But that's the lie we all tell ourselves, that we're somehow too far gone to change, that our mistakes and our past will always define who we are. But I want to tell you, that is simply not true. You are not defined by your mistakes, your struggles, or the habits that have controlled you. You are not the sum of your failures. You are a person with the power to change, to break free, and to create a new future for yourself. Define what matters to you and the choice to change so that you can create a new future for yourself. I remember praying one day, asking God to take the habit away. I wanted freedom. I wanted peace. I wanted to be free of the thing that had been dragging me down. I was desperate for change, but I didn't know how to get there. I kept asking, God, take this from me. I need you to take it away. But here's what I learned along the way. You can pray for change all day long, but if you're not willing to do the work, if you're not willing to take responsibility for your actions, then nothing is going to change. Faith is powerful, but it requires you to move, to take action. That's when I realized that God was giving me the strength I needed to break free. But He wasn't going to just do it for me. He was waiting for me to take the first step, to take responsibility for my own life. It wasn't enough for me to simply ask for help. I had to be willing to put in the work, to fight, to choose a better path, and to make the decisions that would lead me to freedom. Sometimes the universe tries to say the wrong things, but it takes a better path and to make the decisions that would lead me to freedom. I'm not going to lie to you, the road to change is hard. It's not easy. It's going to be filled with obstacles, temptations, and moments of weakness. There were days when I wanted to give up. There were days when the habit seemed stronger than my willpower, when the old pattern seemed impossible to break. But it's in those moments that you have to dig deep. It's in those moments that your faith has to become bigger than your fear. You have to remind yourself that you have the strength within you to overcome. You have to remind yourself that you're not fighting alone. Every time I resisted, every time I chose to do the right thing, even when it was hard, I got stronger. It wasn't always easy to see, but I was changing. And over time, the habit that once had a hold on me started to lose its grip. The chains that I thought would always bind me began to break, and that's when I realized I wasn't just asking for change. I was becoming the change. Every decision, every choice, every small victory was a step toward the person I was meant to be. When you're in the middle of that struggle, it's hard to see the progress. It's easy to feel discouraged, to wonder if it's even worth it. But let me tell you this, it is worth it. Every step you take toward breaking that habit, every day that you choose to keep fighting, is worth it. You might not see the difference right away, but I promise you, you're changing. You're growing stronger. And eventually, when you look back, you'll realize that the thing that once held you captive is no longer a part of your life. You will be free. It takes time, patience, and a whole lot of persistence, but it's worth it. Because when you look back at the person you used to be, when you realize that the chains that once held you down have been broken, you'll understand that the journey, the struggle, the fight, it was all worth it. You'll be able to stand tall, knowing that you overcame the very thing that once held you back. So, whatever it is that you're battling, whatever habit you're trying to break, keep going, keep fighting, keep believing, because the victory is already yours. You've got this. There are moments in life when you're faced with challenges that seem insurmountable, when everything around you feels like it's caving in and the struggle seems endless. I've been there. I've walked through the storm, feeling like I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, like I was sinking deeper and deeper into a pit with no way out. There was a time when I was trapped by a habit, something that was holding me back from becoming the person I knew I was meant to be. And it wasn't just a habit, it was a chain around my soul, a constant reminder of how powerless I felt in the face of it. And for a long time, I didn't know how to break free. It's not easy to admit, but we all have our battles. We all have something that keeps us up at night, something that steals our peace, something that we wish we could change but feel powerless to do so. We all have our struggles, whether it's an addiction, a mindset, a fear, or a negative pattern that seems impossible to break. And I know that many of you are going through something similar right now. You're battling something that feels bigger than you. It feels like a weight you can't shake off, a burden you can't put down. I want to tell you right here and right now that you are not alone, and you don't have to face it by yourself. There was a time when I prayed, asking God to take my habit away, to help me break free from the grip it had on me. I cried out, desperate for change, for deliverance, for peace. But here's the thing. When you pray for change, when you ask for help, you've got to be ready to do something. You've got to be ready to meet God halfway. You've got to be willing to take responsibility, to make the changes that are required, and to put in the effort. Change doesn't happen by itself. You can ask all day, but if you're not willing to put in the work, it won't happen. What I realized in that moment was that God was ready to help me. He was waiting for me to take the first step, to put my trust in Him, and to start moving forward. I didn't have to have all the answers. I didn't have to be perfect, but I did have to act. I did have to make a choice. And let me tell you, that's where the transformation begins. It begins when you make the decision to fight, to trust, and to believe that change is possible. When the change begins as possible, it begins when you stop believing the lies that say you can't overcome, that you're not strong enough, that this will always be your struggle. Every single day you've got to choose to fight. Every day you've got to wake up and decide that you're not going to let the habit control you anymore. You've got to take it one day at a time. Some days will be easier than others. Some days will feel like a victory, and others will feel like a setback. But no matter what, you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep choosing the right path, even when it's hard. Take that path, but not until it's done. Take that path, even when it's hard, even when it feels impossible. Because every time you choose to fight, every time you make the decision to resist, you're getting stronger. God does not let things like this stop. More will come in your life. You've got to remember that change takes time. It's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. But what you need to know is that every step you take toward breaking free from your habit, every decision to do the right thing, is making a difference. Even when it feels like you're not making progress, even when it feels like you're stuck, you are moving forward. The key is perseverance. It's the ability to keep going when things are tough. It's about refusing to quit, no matter how many times you fall. Because with every fall, there's a lesson. And with every lesson, you're growing, becoming more resilient, more determined. And I know it's tough. I know it's not easy. The temptation to slip back into old habits, to give in to the comfort of what's familiar, can feel overwhelming. But I'm telling you, the fight is worth it. When you look back, when you see how far you've come, you will realize that every moment of struggle, every moment of doubt, every tear was part of the process that brought you to where you are today. You'll look back and understand that you didn't just survive the battle, you became stronger because of it. You became someone who knows that no habit, no struggle, no fear can control you. End of chapter 2. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to stop fighting, because you are not defined by your mistakes. You are not the person who has failed. You are the person who is becoming. You are the person who is breaking free, one step at a time. So don't stop now. Keep going. Keep pushing forward. Keep trusting. Keep believing. The victory is yours. And when you make it through to the other side, when you stand in the freedom you fought for, you'll be able to look back and say, I did it. I overcame. And that, my friends, is the most powerful thing you can ever say. You've got this. Keep going. Find our podcast on any of your favorite podcast platforms or by visiting our website, storyworthy.com.